Months I've waited, but I'm finally going to pick up my bike from my local KTM dealer, as it's had new cams, new head, and I think some new followers, but I'll find out exactly what that is once I get there. Got it back, it's in the van. I've also got the box of original parts, so I've got the head and the cams in a cardboard box next to me, so we'll have a closer look at that. So this is my KTM 790 Adventure, and it's 2019. It has done 16,923 miles, and it has just come back from the dealer with a new cams and new head. I didn't notice any signs prior to needing the work. I got it done because I'm going away on a trip and I wanted my valve clearances checked, and I said to them, would you mind checking the cams while you're there to make sure that if I had an issue, it gets solved now rather than when I'm away on my trip. I basically had the valve clearances checked rather than at 18,000 at like 17,000. It's only 1,000 miles difference, but I got it done. And unfortunately, I did suffer from cam wear because I couldn't do it through warranty, and I'll go into that later. But essentially, it meant that I asked for my old parts back because they didn't have to get sent back to KTM. So it means that I can have a look and see some things and maybe show you guys what it looks like. I know you've seen lots of pictures on the groups. There's a Facebook group called KTM Cam Failure, I think it is. That's quite a good one. There's a lot of information on there. Obviously, the internet's full of people that, I guess, guessing what the issue is. You're not going to find the answer in this video either, because I don't know. I have a theory of why it's done it, and I can use my bike as an example of why issues like frequency of oil changes or air filter are perhaps not my issue, based on my bike. Yes, 2019, it's had essentially like 3 services, but it's only done 16,923 miles at the moment. That's what's on the clock right now. So the first service was done at 620 miles, or around that time. The next one would have been 9,300. Both of those services were done by KTM as part of the manual, and I wanted to keep the warranty while I had it. The next service was on the 11th of March last year, which is 2023, and that was at 13,879 miles. Now that one, because I was then out of the 2-year warranty, I did myself. I never noticed any performance or anything changing as I was riding. The only reason I took it KTM is because it's at 16,000 miles. The valve clearance check is at 18,000, and I'm leaving the country on the 15th of May. So I needed to get this bike, I still need to get this bike done and sorted and organised, ready for my trip. And I thought, right, well, let's get it to KTM and they can check my valve clearances, so then I know that's all done in prior to the service, but it's in prior to my trip. And I said to them, could you look at the issue of the cams and see whether or not I've been affected by it? And then, yeah, a couple of days later, I got a phone call saying, yeah, unfortunately, you're going to need new cams. And then they came in and I got new cams and they changed them. And then they said they were manually cycling over the engine and it was locking up or getting stuck or something. And then they realized that not only are the cams different, but the head's been superseded. I don't know why that is. I have noticed they've got a new oil filter like in the new head, but I don't know what other differences are. I can't compare it. I haven't got it. I've just got my old one. Well, I have got the new head actually. It's in the engine, but I'm not taking that apart. So yeah, I'll bring you in close to have a look at this. But like I say, I didn't notice when riding any of the signs, and yeah, it's just happened, and I've had to pay for it. It's a bit waffle, so we'll just bring you in and then we'll have a look. So before I open this up and get into it, as I say, I don't know much about. I know a bit about engines in theory, but I've never taken them on apart or get involved in it. So that's why I got KTM to do it, because I didn't feel like I had the knowledge and experience to be able to do a proper job of it. As I say, the whole point in this video is to really show you the process of what I went through and how KTM and my dealer dealt with me, and the situation, how much it cost and how long the wait was and things like that. So this is the exhaust, this is the intake. I don't think these look too bad from, yeah, I say from my very limited knowledge, but there is a little bit of a lip on this one. So when I first got these back, I looked at it and I was like, oh, what's going on there? How bad does it have to be? Then I moved on to this one and I thought, well, this is not too bad. And then I picked this up and I turned it around and I went, oh, righto, there it is. So yeah, I don't know whether you can see that. I'll take some pictures as well, and put it up if you guys you haven't. But that cam's gone. There's huge gaps in it, and you can see where I guess heat has really got into that one as well, and that one actually. So yeah, they've rubbed. Unfortunately, I don't have the followers, which is a bit annoying. Because they would have been great to have a look at how those two wore compared and at what these others are. But I guess they had a number of bikes in there doing whatever reason, and my bike was sat around for, as I say, 3 months. My theory of what the issue is just how tough these cams are and the followers are. I don't think the hardness of them is that great, but as I say, I don't have any knowledge to really back that up per se, but that's my inkling on it. One of the theories, I think it's the hardness and not anything else, or dust inhalation in my case, is the valve seats all seem to be like smooth. I don't see any like real damage on it or anything like that on any of them. Whether you see dust and bits in there now, I don't know how long this head was sat off just in the workshop, because once they realised that this wasn't going to work, as I say, they might have just taken this off, put it to one side in the box, left open, and then worked on my engine. So I don't know why. I don't know, but I can't see anything like wear-wise. And on my list of parts that have been replaced, at no point is there valves. So we'll go into my airbox. Now I have the Rottweiler power plate, not the whole intake, because that's way too expensive and apparently a bit shit. But take that needs a clean. Get rid of that. And then inside here, I have the Australian unifilter. Let me get this other camera and bring this in here. So this is the inside. And that's all reasonably clean in there, and that's the other side. And then I'll stick you. How am I going to do this? 1 second. Let's get a torch in there. See if I can shove you in there. See if you can see anything. But I believe that's all reasonably clean. And I've checked with a wet wipe on the servicing as well. I get right in there and make sure it's all clean. But I say the oil filter down there gets crap. This one you can see gets all the dirt on it, but the other side's reasonably clean. But this is like the sacrificial one, right? Because this is the first one that gets the dust. Although I'm in England and there's not huge amounts of dust like there is in Australia or America and other places like that. But yeah, it's generally pretty clean. So that's why I don't think it's the airbox, and I also don't think it's insufficient oil changes, because I've essentially oil changed my bike every year, irrespective of the mileage. But also in some cases I've done an oil change because I've got a big trip coming on and I'm like, right, well, let's just drop the oil and change it. As I say, that was one of the main. I did a service. Most of the time I got KTM to do it because of their warranty. When I was out of warranty, I did it myself, and then I'm now at a stage where it needs another service, but technically it's had one. I've got a whole list of parts here, and I'll read some of them out so that you understand what they've changed and what makes it expensive. So they've changed the valve seal cover, the intake camshaft, the exhaust camshaft, the spark plug shaft insert, which is here. Don't know why they only changed one and not two, but no idea. The cam followers, they changed two of those. Cylinder head complete, one. Cylinder head gasket, one. Seal valve stem is 8. Exhaust gasket 2, manifold gasket 2. They've replaced both the spark plugs, the water pump gasket. They've got 1, 2, 3 different sizes of shims. Put new coolant in it, or topped up the coolant. They've put 2 litres in it, and they've also put 3 litres of oil in it. Also 10 hours worth of labour at £85. So that's 850 quid. Now they might have done a bit more labour than that and been nice to me. I don't know. They said they did something, so maybe they knocked a bit off just because of whatever. But that's just my deal and how, if they were nice to me. But I've got no proof of that. As far as warranty is concerned, right? So in my view, cams shouldn't go and the head shouldn't be replaced, especially at 16,000 miles. So that should be under warranty, right? I mean, that in my mind is correct, because why would the cams and a new head be a service part and need to be replaced? They should last almost the life of the bike, 100,000 miles or whatever, in my view. I gave it to my local KTM dealership. They did try and do it under warranty, or they tried to put a warranty claim in, because what they have to do is they have to then pay for all the parts, do it all, and then put a claim in to recoup the parts costs back from KTM. So either way, they have to buy the parts. It's just whether they can recoup the costs. And then, of course, if they can pass that saving on to me. They printed off all the receipts that I'd bought and purchased it from them, because when I did my service, I actually went to them and ordered all the parts from KTM, the oil, the filters, everything. So even though a KTM trained mechanic didn't do the service, I did. I used all of KTM stuff. I lost track of what I was talking about. Yeah, so yeah, they tried to sort out a warranty claim for me. That didn't work. KTM kind of refused it. When their rep came in, okay, I guess the KTM rep come into the dealership, they also had all my purchases and printed off and gave it to them and said, look, this guy's done this, he's serviced it. If anything, he's like servicing it well before your the recommended amount. So he's looking after his bike quite well. But he still was like, no, not having it. It refused it. I also emailed KTM and explained the situation. I said, look, openly, honestly, I've done one service, but everything else has done this and that and the other. And my point was, you're selling a bike as a adventure travel bike, and it can't adventure travel because it's not. If the cams are going at 16,000 miles. Now, I mentioned in the start of the video, I've got a trip coming up. I'm 15th of May, I'm flying off and I'm going to ride around Canada, America and South America, and I'm taking this bike. It's my only bike I've got. It's the bike that I bought, in a sense, for the trip, just before COVID. Obviously, that paused on everything for a while. And I really love it. Like I really like the bike. I don't really want to change it. And the other issue you get is when your bike is in for repair, if it's getting work or the cams are dead, then you can't sell it because the bike's unrideable or not. It's a dead bike, right? Essentially. So you can't sell it. Then if I was to buy another 790, that way I could keep all of my aftermarket parts and just transfer them onto the new bike. I could also inherit the same problem and then have to pay for the cams and head to be done anyway. So I thought, well, why not just pay for the ones that's on my bike? Then I know my bike is done, and then all I have to do is cross my fingers and hope that it doesn't happen again. My only benefit to me, I guess, is the fact that the head's been superseded, and I think the cams, I'd have to check. Now I've got the old cams, I can look at the part numbers on the cams and look at the parts fish and see if there's a difference. But if they have changed, maybe they better. I don't know. But equally, I know that this has affected the Duke, the R version of the 790, the 890s, the Norden 901. I think I've seen people in this cam failure group that have had the issues. So it's not a specific issue, but it's a wider problem, I guess, within the engine range, that's, well, bikes with this engine in it. So yeah, and KTM's response, and I understand where they're coming from. Like, I can't argue with them in a sense. I'd like to, but I can't really, because their claim is, well, you haven't got it serviced entirely by us. You haven't. If I basically always serviced it by KTM and took it to the dealership and got them to do every bit of work on it, then I'd probably be in a better chance of getting a claim. Because I haven't, because I don't really want to spend the 200-300 quid for someone to change the oil when I can do it very easily. And that's why they're not doing it. Essentially, that's what their email response was, is that because as far as they're concerned, I haven't kept up with the maintenance, then from what they wanted and what they require to meet their warranty, then they're not offering me anything at all. I did send them an email and said at the end of this, well, can you explain why the cam failure is happening? Can you explain to me why that if you're marketing a bike that's for adventure travel, why it can't adventure travel and can't get over 17,000 miles? And if this is a reoccurring problem and you're going to have to deal with it, why is it not in the service schedule that every 16,000 miles you have to change the cams? Like, because if that was there, we might not buy the bike. Because why would you go, oh, so every 16,000 miles is going to cost you £3,000? You probably wouldn't bother. They didn't reply to that email, weirdly. I think what I'll do is I'll put all the emails that I got either at the back end of a video that everyone can like scroll through and read, or maybe I'll put it in the description, or I'll put it somewhere in the video so you guys can see what KTM actually said to me and what I said to them. But yeah, so that's the end of this video. It's a lot of waffle, I know, but that's the process. So essentially, it's cost me about £2,500. It's took 3 months with me not having the bike, which is a bit scary because I'm trying to prep it for the trip. So I've got 1 month left to sort it out. There were no real signs of that it was going as far as I was concerned. Yeah, I think that's it. Other than that, I say I love the bike. I'm taking it on my trip anyway, and it just sucks that I've had to pay for that, and I'm fingers crossed it doesn't happen again. But who knows? Anyway, there's lots of information out there. The internet's a wild place. It will tell you all sorts of different things. You can't believe everything. So best thing to do, in my view, is check it. What you can do, I've realised, by looking at this, I'll come over to you, is if you take the rocker cover off, you could, without, you could turn the engine over, and then you can look through these gaps here. Let's see if I can hold this better. Look through these gaps here, and you might be able to see your cams, and you can obviously look at the manual and work out how to manually turn it over. I think there's a bolt or cover down here, which you probably can't see, where you can manually turn it over, and then you could probably see the cam wear without really taking anything too much apart. And then you could make your judgment for yourself whether you either do it your work yourself or you take it to a dealer and get them to do it. But yeah, right, I've got lots to do, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye.